Thank you very much, Juan. Greetings, Douglas County. My name is Kelly Robinson, and this is the Douglas County Board of Commissioners. Today is Tuesday, June 20th, 2023, and this is our Standing Finance Committee meeting. We're going to go ahead and get started. Looks like we have a pretty short agenda this week, or this month, which is okay. We're going to go ahead and call roll call first to establish our quorum. This is just for our voting members, and we'll acknowledge our visiting members shortly. So, Kelly Robinson, Chair of the Committee, present.
Bill Miller, Chair. I guess I'm the Assistant Chair on this committee. Is that right?
Yeah, Vice Chair. Yes,
Vice
sir.
Chair.
Present. Welcome.
Those are synonymous with each other, by the way.
And Rosalind Miller, Finance.
Very good. Is any other voting members that at least I need Tiffany to get my quorum?
I'm not sure. Let me see if I can get
Tiffany. 6 members, we're down to 3.
Okay. Let me see if I can get Tiffany.
No, we got somebody audition.
Oh, okay, perfect.
You're good. So we're gonna we can at least continue on, and at least I can acknowledge we have Jill Hopkins. She's our grant administrator. Jill, you out there?
Yes, sir, I'm here.
Welcome. Glad you could be here. And also a supporting committee member is David Good from our communications team for the SPLOS. Are you out there, Mr. Good?
Yes, Chair Committee, I'm here.
All right, great. All right, so yes, this agenda should be short, Mr. Chair. This is just our mid-year financial report. We don't have a big agenda item this time as we gear up for our mid-year retreat, so it's usually slower now. But we're going to go through it as we always do, look at each department, revenue and expenses, and do our oversight. So, but I need my...
Tiffany is in the house.
Is she here?
I am
Yeah.
present.
All right, thank you. I just need them. Now we have an established quorum. Y'all all can go back to sleep now, but at least we can start the meeting. So let's go ahead and get started. Rosalind Miller, Director, you have the floor. First order of business is our meeting minutes.
Okay. Yes, I'm going to share my screen.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, it's approval of the minutes for the meeting of April 17th, 2023 and May 15th, 2023.
Okay. So we have meeting minutes from 2 meetings, both for April and May. Can I get a motion to adopt the meeting minutes, assuming everybody has read them?
So moved.
All right. I'll second it myself. All right, so with that being said, if there's no discussion, we're just gonna go around the room, and as is the custom, because this is a committee that's online, you have to say your name and your position just so it's properly recorded in the record when we transcribe these things for the meeting minutes. So Kelly Robinson votes yes.
Rosalind Miller, Finance, votes yes.
Tiffany
Chairman
Stewart
Miller
Stanley.
votes yes. Sorry.
Tiffany Stewart Stanley, yes.
Thank you. Now here, Chairman Miller. Yeah,
I can't hear you, Mr. Chairman.
that's what I'm saying. You can't. I got a new mic. Can y'all hear me now?
Yeah, if you stay close to it.
All right, fair enough. No, I got this. All right, and so I got a unanimous voting or adoptions of the meeting minutes. So thank you very much, all. We're going to go right into this and jump into our next order of business. Rosalind.
The next business item is the monthly financial report for May 2023. Just a second, I'm going to get to the report. Okay, for May, the revenue collection is in line with last year. So far, for May, we have collected 14.67% of the total revenue. And as you may know, that the county receives most of the revenue, a good bit of it, about 90% of the revenue towards the end of the year. So again, we've collected 14.67%, and you'll see what that consists of. The expenditures for May have increased about 3.1 million, and however, it's trending under budget. It's over last year's, and that's due to the increase in salaries and also an increase in cost of to do business or the operations of the county government. The SPLOST revenue for May has increased by 72,000 or 2%, and that's compared to last year, 2022. What you see before you is a report of our revenue. Well, my reports are out of sync, but let me get to just a second.
No problem. Wow, go ahead and adjust that. So, David, good. So the SPLOST increased from May to May from last year, the ending to this year. Beginning of the new SPLOST was 72,000 above. Is that what I heard?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just asking why you doing.
Oh,
What's the answer? Yeah. Rosin.
Oh, yes. When compared to last year at this time, and I'll go over the 72. That's one of my slides. So.
No problem. Keep going.
Okay. So what I will be presenting are the three major funds. You'll see, our general fund, the uninked, animal control, and fire and EMS. The first is our general fund. And when compared to, if you see the revenue and compared to 2022, 14.8, and this is the total taxes. We received 14.8 last year. This year, as you can see, it's really close. It's $14,812,000 versus $14,873,000. So it's really close for the total taxes when compared to last year. The intergovernmental, this is grants, and we are in the process of moving grants out of general fund and creating a separate fund. So compared to last year, you'll see that, we've received 1.5 million in revenue for grants. However, the grants this year are reported in a different fund. So that's where the variance comes there. The next is our charges for services. If you compare last year, it's 1.1 million, and this year is 1.1. Again, so it's in trend to of last year of the revenue. And for total charges for services, we've collected 26% of the total budget. The next is courts and law enforcement. Again, in line with last year, 1.4 million last year. This year it's 1.4 also. We've collected 31% of the total budget for this section, which is the courts and law enforcement. The next is the use of property and money. This is the investment interest received in our checking account and our Georgia Fund 1 account, which is a state account where majority of the funds are held, and the interest rates for those accounts for 2023 are a lot higher than they were for 2022. Therefore, that's the difference for the regular investments earning. Last year at this time we received only 22,000 in interest. This year it's 494,000. Miscellaneous revenue. Last year, and this is miscellaneous, so it's not routine revenue. So you will see fluctuation in this line item since it's miscellaneous. And if you compare, last year it was 33,000, this year it's 76. And the biggest is we received an insurance claim on damaged property in 2023 of $19,000. Other financing sources is you'll see a transfer in last year of 3.9 million, and that was ARPA. However, this year the auditors have suggested a different reporting, so we are reporting this transaction now in the actual ARPA fund. It's kind of like the grant fund. Since ARPA has a separate fund, the auditors have suggested to run it through the ARPA and not through general fund. So there's always going to be a variance here throughout the year of 2023. But the actual transfer is actually in another fund.
But to that point, there's something that you alluded to in your opening comments regarding the grant administrator and perhaps the need to have a separate accounting. Now, we've done it from a reporting, right? We've done it from a position. We've seen this evolving, but this makes sense, and it's something that I had anticipated from the audit all along. Like, okay, y'all got to separate that. Y'all got to have dedicated buckets. There's going to be real transparency. Like they're going to allow this right now because they just hadn't got around to it. But it was something that just put in the best interest of the county, and just from overall transparency and consistency, we had to go here. So is this something that you think that it won't be in this report, they'll come out with their comments perhaps, and this will be something we'll do next year, or can we expect that this year?
No,
the budget process, how about this? The budget process that we're about to go through at the end of the year, will we have this new look where grants were split apart?
Oh, definitely. Yes.
All right.
Yes.
All right, we're good. Don't belabor it. We're good.
Okay.
Keep going.
Okay. So when comparing the total revenue for general fund, you see last year was at $23 million. However, this year it's at 18.3 million, and a big portion is the 4 million for the ARPA, and then also the grant funds too. I think that's the biggest, the cause of the difference in the total revenue. So it's the ARPA, the 4 million, and then the 2 million in grants where we were reporting it in general fund. However, this year we're not. And as I mentioned, we have received 14.67% of the total revenue. So out of the 124 million, we've received 14.67 so far. The next, we're going to go to general fund expenditures, and the total general government for last year, the expenditures were 14.5 million. This year it's 14.8. So it's trending in line with last year. And compared to this year's budget, this general fund government is under target by 6.34%. So that is good. So this section is under budget by 6%.
Going into the mid-year. Got it. Okay.
Yes.
Keep going.
The next is judicial expenditures. Last year was 7.3 million. This year it's 8 million. So you see a few increases. Some of the increases is really from, you have district attorney has increased expenditures, and you have to remember or just recall that the board did approve positions in these accounts, additional positions. So this is due to additional headcount that they didn't have in 2022. So you have the district attorney's office, juvenile public defender, and it looks like the solicitor has increased. And solicitor, I believe it was a traffic unit that the board did approve. It was like additional 4 heads. However, with that, they're still in line with target with their budget. This section is under budget by 4%. The next is your public safety. The total public safety last year was 15.4 million. This year we're at 17 million at this time period. And just to public safety includes your coroner, emergency management, sheriff's detention, and sheriff's enforcement. Some of the increases is the sheriff's office, detention office, and it's about 1.1 million increase. And we have the sheriff's enforcement, it's about 500,000. However, there were contracts, obligations that the board did sign, and I believe it was inmate medical, and the food has increased the contracts. So those are contracts that were approved by the board. However, comparing to budget, they are within target of their budget. This whole section of public safety is in target with budget. They're about 0.93% under budget. So they're running in line with their actual budget.
Gotcha. Quick question. So I know that we have, does the sheriff have any new positions above and beyond what was already on the books? Last time we spoke, there's roughly, this says somewhere between 55 and 58 open positions. Where does that cash sit in the meantime? It just sits there until those positions are filled. We're now are they? When you say are they on budget? What is that money being used for overtime? Because in my mind, it would be in excess, right? Because they're fully loaded and they're just not being hired yet. Where's that cash that the board literally has appropriated those 58 open positions? Where's that sit?
It's it sits still in the budget. It's just it's sitting in the budget. So if and if, since we're just looking at bottom line here,
yeah.
So if they're short in, I'm just going to say they're not short in any accounts, but I'm just going to say, let's say if they were short in general supplies, at the end of the day, if you're looking at bottom line, that the vacancies that they haven't filled would cover the supply line item. So they would stay within target throughout their budget until they, fill the vacancies. So it sits in their budget.
Would it be in the reverse? In other words, let's just say we were supposed to have 200 officers over a period of time, evenly divided by 12. Let's say 240. So that's 240 divided by 12 is 200. If I did that in reverse to what you just stated, in other words, I'm supposed to be paying somebody during this period of time, because the money is on the books, to be able to actually write a payroll check every week over time. And my expenses are not there because I'm not paying that person. So you budgeted to ensure that I would have cash there. You budgeted for me to make sure I pay all those officers, all 250 during that period of time. But I'm only paying 200 along that time. How do you, so that it would show that you would be over in one way as well. In one hand, it shows me if I've got some expenses that are over, then this excess would cover. But what if the expense from the non-field position exceeds my actual overall expenses? How's that? Is that ever reflected?
Yeah, again, in the bottom line, and I think I hear you saying if, they're not short in any account, where is the money? It'll just come out, their percentage would be a lot higher of target. They will, if they should be at 50% at this time, and if they haven't filled any vacancies, they'll probably be a lot higher. A lot lower up there target.
It's actual versus budget. I get it.
Right.
That's
right.
Yeah, I just want to, for the record. And so, but with that, being a constitutional officer, they do have the right to, again, make adjustments within that line item, right? So I'm not, like I said, I'm bottom line here. I'm not getting their
Yeah, bottom line. Yeah, the sheriff can, request to, if they need something, to use that funding to, purchase something that will, benefit his operations. If he needs, something in his operations for him to, continue to operate, yes, he can use that funding. He wouldn't have to come before the board because he has the funding. The board approved that funding for him. So
in his discretion, he can use it however he wants to for overtime, double time, triple.
That's correct. Whatever he likes. Yes.
But he doesn't lose his people. Like, so every budget cycle, he'll never.
No.
Right now he's 258. He'll never go below 258 though. He's only got 200 on the books.
Oh no, yeah, he'll always keep the 258.
Got it.
Yeah.
That's what I need. All right, keep going.
Okay, the next is your public works, and you have Department of Transportation for the admin, maintenance and costs, traffic operation, motor pool, and fleet management. And last year it was 2 million. This year it's 2.9 million. And majority of the increase is in maintenance and construction, and also fleet maintenance. That's the variance when compared to last year. And for your health and welfare, last year at this time you spent 1.2 million. This year it's 844. However, with the board approving those two contracts, we will be in line with last year once we process those contracts.
All right, so we spent, what's our public works budget?
Public works is 2 mil. The budget is 8.9 million, but it includes Department of Transportation, the admin portion, the maintenance and costs, traffic operations, the motor pool, and fleet maintenance. So those 6 entities total 8.9 million for their budget, but they spent so far to date 2.9.
We just had a conversation earlier regarding transportation, specifically for LMIGs, and what we spent about $1.2 million roughly.
Yes, that's correct.
All right, so I'm just $1.2 million for all transportation that's strictly concrete, stuff that the people can experience on their daily basis, experiencing their tax dollars. 1.2, and how much did we just spend on health and wellness?
Last year at this time was 1.2. So far we've only spent 844,000, but the total budget for health and wellness is 3.8 million.
Right, no, I got you. So I'm just drawing these comparisons.
Oh, okay.
Look
I
at our
got
transportation in comparison
yes.
to, like, you know, some things that are important to us, health and welfare. I'm sure we'll get in our seniors, et cetera, later, but these are things that I'll consider and keep in my mind as we get into the budget process. It's all about equity. It's all about, like, okay, guys, are these appropriately set? You know, nobody's really did the deep analysis on, like, okay, but should they be at these amounts? And should there be a recalibration of them? Because there's never been the thought to even look at it, to even say, like, okay, this seems to be imbalanced. And again, if you're able to be conscious about, look at our transportation, guys. And while I know there's an aspirational list that's $209 million long, but yet you're only putting $1.2 million into it every year. Either you're being delusional by talking to the citizens that we're working on it, or you just don't understand what you're looking at. Because, like, okay, guys, how can we honestly tell the citizens that we're working on something? Though that's the number 2 priority, it's almost at the bottom of being fed. But it's just something that, again, I'm doing this for the record, just so we'll bring this back up in the budget cycle. Director Miller, keep going, please.
Okay. So next we have recreation, parks, recreation, and culture. Last year, 2.8 million. This year, 3.3 million. And the increase is in parks and recreation and the aquatic center. Last year, the activity was low due to COVID. It was just coming back. So when you compare the two, that's where the higher expenditures for those 2 items. However, they're still under budget by 3.80%. Next, you have planning and community development. Last year we spent $917,000. This year, $420,000. The decrease is due to, again, we have 2 allocations, or 2, we call them agencies that the board approves for allocations. So we have the economic development, and I believe that contract was just approved. So we should be allocating funds there. And then also the shared house. As of May, the contract wasn't approved. I believe that contract has been approved too. So you'll see these 2 allocations later in the year, and we'll be in line with last year.
Let me make sure. Well, I know public health and I think economic development is on the agenda for tomorrow.
Okay.
All right.
So
but you bring it up. What about CSB and share house? To your point, those are 2 that are sort of with the historical grandfather section of things. Even though we've got different policy now, but where are those 2 at? I mean, why? Again, here we are in the 6th month. Talk to me a little bit more about that. How do we, assuredly going forward, that unless for some type of reason they didn't cure, let's say they were late with the report, and if there's a penalty associated with being late with your report, or you didn't do it right, then of course, it may be a delay. But bar that, what happened?
Yeah, well, first you'll see, so the month of June is when I think we received all the contracts. So when I do June's report, we'll see all the checks have been cut and out. But the delay is due to the new process. And for next year, it should not be a problem at all. I think next year we'll be back, how we were in previous years, and processing the checks in a timely manner. But it's just due to the new process. I think we're all on the same page and together, so we'll know, we'll be able to let the agency know when they will receive the check and how much once the board approves it. So those checks will be, processed at the first of the year versus, in June, like now. But it was just due to the new process.
Yep.
And communication.
Yes, we'll get better.
Oh, yeah.
Communication. I just wanted to highlight that because again, we do get feedback where you still, while communication is important to let them know when they're getting it, they had planned on having funding a little bit ahead. So you plan events, you plan your year, you plan your month, you plan what you're going to do, and you get out here and you're executed and you don't have any gas.
Yeah.
Right. So I don't want us to be insensitive. That I understand that we're with the banker in essence, with the bank, but there are certain ways you interact with your those people who are dependent upon you. So I want us to just be sensitive to that. And by the way, I got to. I mean, Director Amos, you were out there. I heard your name earlier, and I didn't acknowledge you, but thank you for being here. If you're still out there, all right, Director Mo, keep going.
Yeah, and we are told that we do understand, and we have made, like, if they need to pick up their check, we will allow them to pick up the check too. So we totally understand, that they are doing, a service. They are providing a service for Douglas County, and we do understand. So we have been, making, ways for them to pick up the check and get their payment quicker.
Very good. Keep going.
Okay, so the next you'll see this negative, but again, it's comparing your revenue with your total expenditures. So we are, I guess, when you hear the fund balance, that is also it's really a working cash flow for us. That's how the government is getting by these months without, as I mentioned, we only receive 14% of the revenue, but we are using the fund balance for cash flow to help us through the month, so we won't have to get a loan or a TANs. But you'll see if you compare revenue versus revenue versus expenditures, it's you're in the whole 21, last year 21.4 million, this year 29.3. But again, we have our working fund balance, cash flow fund balance that's getting us through these few months. However, total, we're still under budget for general fund. The expenditures for as of May is still under target, 4.58% of the total budget.
Right. So,
Okay.
Yeah. No. So I again, just for the record, so right. So I got a savings account, my fund balance. I got
Yes.
got cash.
Yes.
And but my revenue, based on an annual projection, revenue is not covering my budgeted expenses. In other words, I'm coming up short every month.
Right.
Just say for the record, you guys, your house mortgage is $3,000 and you're $1,500 short every month. How you gonna make that mortgage note? Well, if you got savings, you'll just tap into that and earn it out until, in essence, you get that bonus or something happens in your life that allows you to cover that. So, Ross, is that you? We wait to the end of the year because we don't get our revenue, primarily to your point, to the end of the year when the tax collector does what he does. So we got to float ourselves in the meantime until everything catches up. Is that accurate?
That is, and then we just put it all back. So at the end of the year, we'll have a high fund balance again.
Right.
And that is excellent that we can go through the year without needing any additional help to pay the expenses for county operation, that we do have a fund balance to rely on. Most local governments, they don't, and that's why they have to go get the loan.
Yeah, not
to get them through the year.
Yeah, the loan is cheap money. We always have that ideological debate about using TANs and stuff, but it's you know, I look forward to that coming up, especially as we get into our policy conversation. Like, okay, I get it. It sounds good going to the street when we're doing our bonds for, you know, the SPLOST to have no, you know, no debt, no short-term, long-term debt. But there's a reason to do that. There's a reason to use other people's money strategically and intentionally. And again, it's sort of you're trying to balance out because again, if we're floating our balance sheet to sort of so other agencies have to wait for us to get through our little shortfall, and we're like, okay, guys, now y'all, you know, I can see all that, and it's like, okay, but what are we really benefiting then? We benefiting that we may have saved a couple $1,000s in fees and stuff, but you're impacting the citizens because of delayed services. Like, no, my need is now, not a convenience because again, we get to get on TV and say that we had no debt. It's like you got real need out there. And so there's a reason that you would do this. Now, this is just you and I talking. You're good. You got this on point, and I know you know what you're doing here. But I'm for the record. I'm becoming very clear on like, okay, guys, we need to really talk about this because again, it's like look how it's playing out. It's okay. It's not a right or wrong. It's not an evil versus good. It's just I can go either way. I mean, it's good to say that we ain't on TANs, but that's just posturing. It's no real. I mean, yeah, you saving money, but you ain't saving up material. It's nothing that like, but the convenience is that like I'm always covered. You ain't stressed about whether or not I'm gonna pay CSB or pay somebody else just to give myself assurance. I already got the cash, and I can keep my fund balance accordingly where it is. So I think I can go either way. I'm looking forward to my peers weighing in when we get time to the mid-year retreat and we have these conversations because I really want to see what everybody's made of. Like, all right, guys, we need to set this policy. And so again, as opposed to tinkering with the millage rate every year or tinkering with the TANs, take a position and set a policy. And that way it locks it. Because every year you politicize these moments by you know, again, depending on the wind, depending on the administration. And I know we can never bind the future administration, but it just fluctuates. It just fluctuates. And I can see these trends over time saying, interesting. But keep going, Roz. We almost be on the backside. Keep going.
Okay, so next, our next fund is the unincorporated fund. So we just did general fund. Now it's also uninked, also known as uninked. So uninked, of course, includes your code enforcement and occupational tax and your planning and zoning. So when you compare the revenue last year, 1.9 million versus the 2 million, one of the biggest increases is in your plan review and fees. It's an increase there. They have collected 17.72% of their revenue, and the biggest portion is the insurance premium tax, what we receive from the state. That's 7.3. So they receive that about towards the end of the month, but towards the end of the year in October. So that's a big portion of their revenue. So expenditures, if last year was 3.8, this year it's 5.4 million. The biggest increase is in this section, the general appropriation, and the uninked fund allocates money to your EMS fund, your fire and EMS fund. So the expenditures for that fund has increased, and that is due to Fire Station 9 just preparing for the operations, hiring firefighters so they'll be ready when the building, when the station is open. So their expenditures have increased, and that is due to the salary and benefits, and for the new firefighters, it's about 45. So therefore, the allocation to fund the fire and EMS, and we'll take a look at that fund, it's gonna be more, and as you can see here, again, general appropriations, last year it was only 3.1 million. However, this year it's 4.5 million. And the total is 11 million. However, this fund is under target, about 2.76% of total budget. You'll look, when you compare revenue minus expenditures, you also see a negative. Last year at this time was 1.9. This year it's 3.4 million. And again, it will be coming out of their fund balance, which at the end of the year was about $11 million.
The overall fund balance. So again, you're bringing on 44, 45 people full time. You got half of it booked this year, mid-year, that you're hiring to train, I guess. No, all of them now, they're just mid-year. All 44 are on the books now, mid-year, and that they'll be ready to come online sometime next year. That they'll have an actual building and something to drive this time next year.
That is correct.
All right, keep going.
Okay, and also, I'm sorry, their beginning fund balance is 7.8 million. So minus the 3.4, they're at 4.4 million. But again, when they receive the insurance premium tax, that's the biggest portion of their revenue, and also their other revenue. We're projecting that they'll be putting a small portion back into fund balance.
That's it. Keep going.
Okay, next is our fire protection services and EMS. Last year at this time, they received 7.2 million revenue. This year, 11.2. And the increase is, if you look in this miscellaneous, you see from general fund. So therefore, general fund is allocating a portion to this fund of $4.7 million. And the uninked, as I mentioned, it's 3.9.
That's missing. I got it. 3.9.
Okay, so their total is 11 million. They've received 49% of their budget, and their budget, they don't wait for taxes. Their budget comes in monthly. Another charge for service that is monthly and that has collected about 68% is their ambulance fees. So they receive money on a monthly basis. Also, you see this line, revenue from local government. This is for the city's portion based off of the SDS portion of how much they're contributing. Total is 2.1 million. And again, general fund and uninked is down here, 11 and 6.7. This for the revenue for local government, the city, this does not increase until I believe year 2026. The increase that's due to the new SDS that was in place.
Well, is what they did before the cities negotiate.
That is correct. Yes. So their expenditures, fire protection services and EMS, last year at this time, 6.6 million. This year, 7.5 million. They are under target, about 8.70%. As you can see, they are putting money into fund balance, about 3.6. Last year at this time was 514,000. The 3.6 is due to the firefighters. Not all have been hired yet. We've also received a grant, and per the grant agreement, if we want the grant to fund these firefighters, they would have to start in August. That's the the starting term of the grant. So majority of that 3.6 is due to unfunded positions. So they are adding to their fund balance. And as I mentioned, in the board, has options. Either, you can allow them to, save for the next year when the firefighters, or year 2026, because that's when the grant is up, to bank the fund balance to fund come when the grant is no longer available, or if they don't receive it. I've heard that they can apply again for the grant. But if it's not available, they do have funding in their fund balance, or the board does have to reduce the amount that they're allocating to the fire.
No,
And-
see that those are, again, getting into policy,
I'd say
conversations where our options or considerations, because again, one time, as Jill wrote me, it said earlier, we'll take the grant on the front side. We'll use this ARP money for this versus that. Got it. But unless you restrict that non-spent money in your general fund that you already budgeted, because you got this grant after the fact, unless you restrict it, not just assign it, but restrict it in such a way that, okay, it's going to be there in the future. Because that ARPA is a one time in 100 years. That COVID was one time in 100 years. And I get this betting on grants that we'll get it every year. We'll get it every year. Yeah, but you see the state every now and then, they'll say no. And it exposes us to like, okay, have you already looked at that liability associated with all these positions from the court system that's getting floated by grants from this, that, and other? Like, okay, y'all. Now, how much is that real cash that's being offset? I get it. We may or may not have a match. I'm just curious. I mean, in other words, are we really looking at our numbers like the way we should? Or we just like, it just feels good that we get these grants and we just keep going. Now, at the end of the day, it's the board of commissioners that are responsible for this. Because again, they don't care. They're going to keep going. Y'all going to keep funding. Fine, I ain't going to worry about it. But at the same point, it's up to us as an oversight to push back and have these policy decisions. Says, okay, guys, how are we going to really handle these numbers? Because I don't like the shell game. We're not there. Trust me. We used to be there. You guys got this on lock. Y'all are locking this thing down. Y'all raising up all the shells. Y'all are being transparent about where everything is going. So please, I understand it quite fully. I've lived it all. I know the difference. But I want to make sure that, all right, let's make sure the board has all the facts and that we can make the right decisions about, okay, guys, but this is what we're really looking at. I don't want the staff to sit there and just don't tell the board because they don't understand. They think it's this and y'all just don't say nothing. You just allow it to be, but they don't ask no questions. We'll just keep it moving. So I think we are maturing as it relates to these type of conversations. But Roslyn, I'm looking forward to our retreat. So we'll see how it plays out. So keep going. We're almost done. Keep going.
Okay, and then just to let you know, at the end of the beginning fund balance for this fund was 564,000. So when you add the 564,000 to the 3.6, their fund balance is $4.2 million. The next is our animal control services. Last year collected at this time was 570. This year it's 832,000.
Yep.
Okay. And the increase is the revenue for local governments. I have to take a look at that. I'm not sure if it is due to timing, because the amount has not, well, actually, yes. One of the cities is based off of 1% of the budget, so it has increased, yes. And again, remember this line item, revenue from local governments, that's the SDS line item. So last year it was 77,000. This year is $164,000. They've received about 50% of the revenue there. And then other financing sources. Here, funding for the UNINC. UNINC also funds for your animal control services. They are transferring in $634,000. And again, it has increased from last year, and it's due to the expenditures. So animal control has collected so far 44.99% of their revenue. And again, animal control, they receive their revenue monthly, so it's no waiting, so it's in line. So when you look at the expenditures, last year it was 501,000. This year it's 571,000. And animal control is 10% under budget. Last year they had, at this time, they were putting 68,000 into their fund balance. This year they're adding 261 to their fund balance.
Good.
Okay.
But before you shift into the other areas, I just two more points. One question, just make a marker for this. We can take it up doing OG, especially when we get into the budget process. We've got a fire district. We have an animal control district. I know 911 and landfill, they have their own buckets of independence. Can we create a public safety or a sheriff, what called a public safety district, a public safety fund? And I'm trying to isolate it because, again, like with fire, I mean, you can get your mind around it. It's not just embedded in the general fund, but it also allows me to do other types of things as relates to salaries and so forth. But is there? I think the CAB has a public safety district, but I don't know how they go about doing it. It's going to be a legal overlay on this, but is there some consideration for that? Does that help us at all? Or does it help it be clearer? Because remember, at one time when I first started, all these funds were in one big bucket. It's one giant slush fund. Everything. They were just writing checks in and out of that thing. It was just like, okay, how y'all keeping up with this? How can you distinguish? You guys have helped us mature this and separate it over time so we can clearly see it. Even the auditors is like, okay, y'all need to separate this thing. And again, it was masked. We really didn't know where we were. You know if you was raising rates or not. You know what your market, you didn't know your numbers. Yes, you got the accounting check. Yes, I went to the auditor check. I checked the books, but they just allowed it because we're a municipality. It didn't mean that it was like, really, y'all running it like this? And we were floating money from our grants to pay stuff. It's like, wow, they allow this. Ooh, but they talk about transparency. Like, okay, but I'm looking dead at it like, wow. Look at how we're running this county. So again, as we get into the budget process, are y'all going to do the education we talked about last year? We got 2 or 3 new members. Are you going to take your time to ensure they understand what we're looking at so we can have a healthy conversation regarding this budget?
Oh, definitely. Yes, of course.
Okay, I think that's only fair because again, there's some things about it's like, okay, wow, we're getting much better. But I want to make sure that you know, it's not a sleight of hand. Just because I have knowledge, I don't use that for evil or to push an advantage. It's just not me. It's more for everybody. So you know how I am with the finance. Like, let's make sure everybody's on the same page. Don't let them walk in the day of to give them a PowerPoint either, you know, a deck. We may need to get with them ahead of time just to make sure they're okay. Can you make a note of that for me, Rosalind, please?
I sure will. I have, yes.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Keep going.
Okay, and just the animal control fund balance, the beginning fund balance was 549,000, and they're going to add 261,000. So that makes their fund balance 810,000 at this point in time. So we went over all the major funds, and that was general fund, the fire, animal control, and UNINC. Now we have our healthcare fund. We are self-insured, meaning we pay based off of claims. When a claim comes in, the county pays. Compared to, for the past few years, this fund has been adding to fund balance. due to COVID, not much activity. However, the activity has come back. People are going to the doctor more, which is great. So for charges for services, this is the actual premium charge. It's 5.8 million. For your operations, for admin, operating costs, admin, and also claims, you're at a total of 6.7. However, revenue over expenditure, you have 898,000. That is going to reduce your fund balance. However, at the beginning of the year, this fund started at a $6.5 million fund balance. However, you will drop to 5.62 million at this point. And again, this is just at the point in time in May.
Right.
This budget is running strictly right in target with your budget. As you can see, this was your budget for expenditures for this fund. It's 16.1 million. And so far you have spent 41.53% of the budget. You're 0.14% under target. So you're under budget, but right in line where you should be at this time.
This is doing health insurance, the health.
That is correct.
Right. So again, and so our healthcare expenses are continuing to go up.
Yes, they
Right.
appear to be going up.
A big well, and I know we've got a new HR director and a new risk director, and I think this is something that guys and Mr. Chair, we do need to get into these pension, this workers' comp, and this healthcare buckets, during the budget cycle. It's something that I've never been able to honestly, sir, get into like I really wanted to. We've nickeled it, we toyed with it. We've done some adjustments in healthcare as relates to maybe some rate adjustments and some formula adjustments, but it just, it was sort of, it was controlled. That risk and stuff, that thing was very controlled. And I'm calling it like I see it. And I don't think I'd like to have a more cleaner council come in and take a look at that. Just for the record, I mean, just so even you knew, because again, there's a lot of your public safety people that are in obviously the pension. A lot of people in healthcare that we're covering today, as well as those that are afters. And so this is one of those. That's one area I have to take what staff said, but I don't quite know if that's I'm comfortable. So I try to watch that because we have to pay those off top, right, Rosin? We pay that off the top, right?
That is correct.
Before everybody else get paid, Mr. Chair, off top, them 3 buckets. So I want to make sure that, like, I get it, we're gonna pay it regardless, but I still want to know what it is, and I want to make sure I got assurance on its accuracy, and then how we do that. I mean, who gets the funding, and who's the plan providers? I know we put those things in and out, but they're just they seem to be more reactive than very thoughtful for something. I think, y'all know how important those 3 buckets are. We just handle them like we just, okay, we just go ahead and get paper for getting sitting from here versus over here. I don't see the thought in it. But again, we got new leadership, so I'll give them a chance to take a crack at this before I have any further comment on this. So it's only fair for them. Rosin, keep going. We're good.
Okay. Well, the next is our lost and our splots. So the first section is the loss. And just a reminder, the percentage when the state receives the revenue, they allocate it. And again, the board, was in negotiations with the city. So the allocation for this last year was 66.30%. This year it's at 69.05%. So therefore, these numbers should be larger, but it's also larger because we are receiving more revenue, and also it's larger because of the percent. So if you look at, just compare it at this time, comparing the February through May, and the increases, it totals $753,000. So far, loss if compared to last year, we've received 753,000 more than last year.
So when does it kick in again? The loss?
Oh, the percentage change?
Uh,
Is the 69.05 is from 2023 through 2024.
and then it goes to what?
I believe it's reduced. I don't have it right
And
off.
it's okay, no, that's mature as with budget. But no, we're okay. To your
Okay,
point,
yeah.
And again, I think the loss team, at least on our side, did a good job. Vice Chair, obviously Carthen and Commissioner Mitchell were the two drivers on our team that met with the two team members from the cities, respectfully. And I think, I think they came to a great compromise to get us to where we were. In other words, well, you got to give. The county carries this thing. The city is no bigger than my district as relates to economic development. And this charge is if I'm 1.9 billion, it's 1.8. And obviously my district is bigger than this population with 37,000, and they've got what, 28, 24. So let's put things in context, which brings me back to my point. As you look at all these, the lost and the splost and all the fees and fines and stuff that we get, are we really charged? And I don't think we got our table back. Staff was supposed to show us a listing, and maybe I got it and I just ain't saw it today. They're supposed to show us a listing of all the fines and fees and come up with the total cost for all services. And I think it was, we got fired, we'll move you along with your 10%, but we still needed our data. And see, sometimes I hate to call people out because like, yep, they thought I was playing. Like, where's the data? Because it ain't just that you want to get to your transaction, your charge for it, because you check something. It's like, guys, we're trying to make decisions from a macro. Like, okay, I want to be able to look the chair in the eye. Like, okay, look, here's all your fees you got. You ain't changed these in 18 years, 13 years since I've been here. But we always talk about we want to keep the cost down for our taxpayers. But then we pay rate for these vendors. We pay off to whatever they charge us, whatever the bills come back. We constantly charge a market rate, but we try to offset with nickel and dime. It's like, guys, that's counterintuitively. Like, no, come on, everybody got to get in the ring together, because it's a false narrative that you're devaluing your pricing, your value of your services. I get it, but then don't let corporate America dictate your capital expenditure at a rate, even at a premium. But everything else you do in charge, you're making it a discount. That's going the wrong way. I'm like, look at this policy. And you're only doing it by default. But it's like, oh, y'all don't see the end of this? That's not sustainable. And so that's where we get to a point where we're so low that like you're giving away like charity was a good thing. We want to keep it low. But no, guys, you're not offsetting like you should. So then more burden may be on the property tax owners, because you ain't doing your fines and fees right. You're not even doing, you're just not getting your commercial right. And that's my point all this time. Like, guys, look at this thing holistically. So anyway, Roslyn, are you okay? Did you get that? We're gonna take that up, right?
Yes, and I would like to, I'm gonna have to make a change, but I do have it. It's actually the 69.05 is for 2023, 24, and 25.
Then it jumped it. Go ahead.
And then in 2026 through 2029, the allocation would be 67.84. And then year 2030 through 2032, the allocation would be 66.63%.
So it comes down over time.
Yeah,
Soon
yeah,
the
it comes
population
down.
is going up, in the cities accordingly. All right. Got it.
Right, yes. Okay.
Okay, keep going.
All right.
You're doing a great job. Thank you, Roslyn. Keep going.
All right, our next is the SPLOST. And we have been receiving more revenue for our SPLOST, and majority of it is due to the inflation. So therefore, if an item costs more, that means the sales tax at 1% would be a lot more. So when you compare from February through May, the total increase is $644,000 dollars more than last year at this time. And then the 72 thousand that I mentioned earlier, and that's just comparing last year, was at $2,924,068. This year at the same time, we've collected $2,996,799. So that's where the $72,000 increase came from.
Actually, no, you're doing good. And again, we get, I'm sure David Good will weigh in on our overall SPLOST. And again, we just ended the one.
Yes.
We have some carryover left over. David, do you know how much carryover we got left over right now as of this moment? Was it $8 million from this? What was it this morning?
From this morning, it was what we have left over we spent is $35,000. I mean, $35 million.
$35 million. That's across all three buckets.
Correct. That's what we have. That's what we have left. That's not been invoiced.
Right. It hasn't been invoiced. Has it been assigned? I mean, is that free money, or has it already been assigned to a project? This is not new money that's coming in after everything has already been fully funded. You're saying, no, go ahead. I'm not going to tell you what you said. You said.
Right. What it is just money that has not been invoiced. Does not mean it hasn't been encumbered. There are some that that was through, I guess you would say, through the orders, through the purchase orders, but they're still there. So therefore, it hasn't been encumbered yet. Am I right, Rosa?
Yeah. Yeah. And if we're saying, how much we have for PAYGO, but every dollar that we receive in this fund is really allocated, because we've allocated the whole 175. However much we've received in revenue, it has all been allocated to a project.
No project. So this, even though we're getting above and beyond every month, or give or take, plus or minus 1%, still, to your point, we've got a list of projects that we're at some phase on. So we're doing the best we can with what we got. And in essence, if it's over, it's over. There is no more for April. I mean, after April 1st, there was no more money to come in.
Correct.
All right. So in essence, I think to your point, you're right. It's all should be assigned by this now, by this point. And you can make discretionary decisions later through committee structure, but for the most part, it's been locked. So it makes sense. No, you're good. There shouldn't be anything left over. It should be all assigned. Everything else we're talking about now is the beginning of PAYGO for the 2022.
Right, but and that's what I'm going to start adding our 2022 the SPLOST.
Yes.
Because right now it's not, the 2022 SPLOST is not included in any of these numbers. It's by law we keep that money totally separate. So
I understand.
We haven't spent anything. We've received 2 months of remits for it. So next month I'll start including a spreadsheet on that to show you how the remits. But again, we haven't spent any money. And I just want to mention about the excess. By law for SPLOST, the law identifies or defines excess when all projects are complete. So when the Fire Station 9 is complete, all projects are complete, transportation, then they identify what you have left. That's the excess.
Yep.
So all funds should be going to the projects that have not been completed yet. And so therefore, I think answers your question. Yes, we're going to have funding for Station 9. Station 9 is going to move forward, no matter how much it costs, because So on this spreadsheet, it's PAYGO. This is kind of like the most important column on this whole spreadsheet, but it's PAYGO and plus interest earned on from the checking accounts minus net of claims, and that's actually checks cut. So what's sitting in the bank account for SPLOST right now is about 43.2 million. So that's what gets us through. Like, if something is submitted to pay for any of the projects, we're using the 43.2 million. That's not free money or excess or anything. That's just money for the operations of this fund. And we won't know what is excess until all projects are complete.
No, I understand, but people will hear that 43, 44, and think, oh, they got all that cash, when in essence, those are projects that are in play.
That is correct.
Those are projects that are already in place.
And as Terry mentioned earlier this morning, the Fire Station 9 is, 9.2 million. So you would subtract that out. And any other transportation projects too, and transportation, they're pretty big. So yeah.
No, all right. So to that point, so again, I get it. You got this lost. I think it's important for to now going forward, we must show that we got this new SPOST. We believe in transparency, where the administration may now just be getting ready to write an RFP for a program manager or whatever it's doing. We have a responsibility to be transparent with the data. We have been taxing them for 2 months for an extra penny SPOST that we said we needed it. We got to show that. So when I hear like, okay, we need to show this. So the readiness of the administration is not the same readiness of the commissioners. And the commissioners like, okay, guys, where are we with these things? These things matter, right? And so I follow how we do things like, okay, guys, I know you got to say something. You can't sit on that type of cash. You can't tax the people. And just like, okay, I'm gonna get around to, not you, Ross, but get around to reporting it when I want to. That's not a good look. Because again, when we already know what the data is, why aren't we showing it? Show them the status of the things that they voted for. We're only here because of them. And I think we owe them that. We owe them to show progress, because they can see the holes in some of the execution that we do without it's like, okay, well, yeah, why are y'all behind? What are y'all waiting on? And we talk about our roads this morning and stuff about how we're only putting 1.2 million in there, but we sitting on what, 40 million, 30 million? But on top of the 44 you already got? We're disingenuous. That's disingenuous, because like, okay, God, do y'all know y'all not looking at this cash? You done took 5 million in just now in the past 2 months out of SPLOST. Free and clear, you ain't did nothing with it. 5 million. I can go take care of the sheriff right now. A trade-off. But again, if it was all allocatable, I'm making my point that while we say one thing, but we're not telling a fuller story. And I think as we get more into this year, I think the maturity of our narrative will become very evident. It's not that we don't understand, it's just we don't say it. Do we take the care, the time to sit down and share with the citizens about what we're really up to, what we're really doing, versus like sleight of hand, or just we disconnect, or we don't do right by it. Because again, the energy I put in to try to draw stuff out of the administration, like, oh, y'all are killing me. Like, what is the problem? Like, I look at the citizens like, I'm gonna go there after that. Like, you see what I gotta deal with? My citizens look at like, if y'all really knew what was going on the inside of how we do things. And so I appreciate you guys working through this, Ross. I know you've evolved this report twice. This financial report, and really obviously amended it, and obviously getting it every month now, making the full report financially exposed to the citizens. Those are all small measures that were important and stuff. And I just want us to keep going on that, right? You're doing the monthly report, but you got to even know how to look at a report. If we didn't go through this, people wouldn't just, okay, I'm looking at this. This is important to codify it and explain it. But there's either other financial decisions that we're making that get lost sometime along the way. So I thank you for taking your time and doing how you do it. Thank you very much. Keep going.
Not a problem. Well, that concludes the May's financial report. If there's any questions,
I'm gonna let everybody, David and Jill, go. Mr. Chair, you in my committee, my vice chair always, was Madam Chair, which will always be you. You get the last word, so I'm gonna go around and just talk to everybody, then I'll give you the floor for that at the end. So, guys, Madam ACA, you okay? Did we lose Tiffany? She's probably dashed.
Oh, no, I'm here, Commissioner
Are you
Robinson.
okay? This was just sort of a monthly reporting. You know, obviously we're waiting for the budget to really have any much material. We're just laying the foundation. Are you okay with what you heard?
No, I am. Thank you, Director Miller, for that information. Very
Okay,
helpful.
very good. Director Ames, again, I want to acknowledge you at least at the end and say hello and greetings. And as we talked about in our PLC meeting, that there will be a lot of eventually RFPs will be coming down the pipeline. And again, assuredly, you're in my prayers and in my thoughts on how we get through this moment and stuff. So you okay out there?
I am okay. Thank you so much, Commissioner Robinson.
All right, appreciate it. David and Jill, y'all want to weigh in on anything like that? Wait a minute, Dave, before you get in. Jill, are you okay with this grant administrator? You're good? You know, I'm gonna always ask you, but how are you doing?
Actually, Commissioner, Jill had to step away. She had a conflict, so
That's fine.
at 3, she did
All
walk
right,
away.
my bad. I went longer than I wanted to. I went over an hour. So okay. David, are you okay with the SPOS? I recognize that your assignment is to 2016. We do appreciate the ad hoc, the additional things you do to help shape us during this transition. But are you okay with the 2016, sir? You got your-
Yes, Commissioner. I am good with it. Everything that Rosin showed today really is where we're at, and I'm glad that you guys have an understanding of how the SPOS dollars are spent, and I'm glad the citizens who are watching understand how they're spent, especially as we have now at the end and we know exactly how much we receive and how much we have left going towards our projects that are active.
And I know one of the assignments you used to do it in times past, but if you haven't done it, I want to highly encourage you to meet with my 3 new fellow commissioners to make sure they get you know your take, a good take, no pun intended, on just sort of the conclusion of it. So I mean, yes, they see the monthly report. Yes, they can look in a meeting, but it's not like sitting down one-on-one with them and say, okay, let me break this thing down for you. This is how the SPOS, you know, you got to give them that because they're going to be gearing up one. They need to be able to appreciate the past, and they don't have to do it in the public. But can you make sure you make a note and see if you can get on those guys' calendar and give them the time that they need, please?
Yes, will do.
Okay. All right. I think I went around the room, and Rosin, you're okay. So, Mr. Chair, any comments, sir? You always get the last word in my meeting, so you're good. Any comments you heard on your first financial reporting?
Well, of course, I don't get the last word at home, so I'm glad I'm here to do that. First of all, I would suggest either that we meet other than Zoom, or we get these speakers fixed, because I heard about 1/3 of what you had to say, and I was listening intensely, but we just got a technical problem. We need to repair that. No, I appreciate what Rosalind does and everybody does, and David, as far as the SPOS is concerned, we just need to do what's right for these people that we work for, and I'm sure we'll continue to do that.
Awesome.
Yes, sir.
Anything else, sir?
That's it.
All right. Well, duly noted, guys. I got this new microphone. See, Mr. Chairman, it doesn't work. So we'll work on that. Duly noted. I was trying to test it out. We will tighten that up. But with that being said, as the chair's final comments, we're going to let that be. Please, to the citizens and to this committee of June 20th, 2023, the Finance Committee of the Douglas County Board of Commissioners,